So this is the PM UX sync for the verified testing team, September 2nd, 2021. Gina, why don't you jump in? We have a couple of follow-up items from last week. Oh, I guess the first one's actually mine. I watched that UX scorecard that you did for runner management. That was awesome. Great work on that.
Thank you. I can share my screen also so we can see the agenda. You had asked if we could use the same format for the job to be done work and testing. I was saying, and I had caught up with Hayana about this last week, since we don't have existing research, we'll just have to run job interviews rather than me like running that heuristic evaluation.
Okay.
So you saw the research issue that's here, but just for the sake of the call, this is the one that we created in the research project. Okay. And yeah, and then Hayana said that, yeah, we'll have to do the 30-minute job interviews, and the final, and just so you know, the final deliverable for this UXKR at least is just to create an MR that updates the job to be done YAML file. So yes, we'll get a ton of research out of it, which is also nice for us, but for the UXKR, it's just updating those jobs.
Okay, cool.
Okay, so I watched the category maturity walkthrough that you had posted, the video, and it gave me a lot of inspiration to start looking into 14.5. What I did there was, I believe I moved one of the validating performance testing to there. My guess is that I actually will start this in 14.4, but I moved it there just so that I could focus on usability testing for the first one.
Okay. And the maturity plan for that is a ways out. So I think we could, like, that can be a stretch. I wouldn't prioritize the performance testing stuff.
Okay.
Maturity plans. There we go. Just looking at how I changed that last time.
I know I had written down the dates that you said, but now I'm like, where did I write those?
Oh. That's gonna take a minute. Because I don't think it's on the maturity page.
Is it? No, it's maturity plan.
Yeah, so it's at least beyond July, so it'd be October of next year.
Oh, wow. Okay.
We would do that. But what that could mean is that we do start the jobs to be done work in Q4, potentially.
Okay, so that we would have to, because that UXKR is for Q3, and right now I have both there, so we'll just have to update, or I can start a discussion maybe on that issue.
Sounds good.
Okay.
See if I can get the categories YAML to load fast. Or at all. Testing. Yeah, it looks like the move to viable on 10/22 of 2022.
Okay.
So we would basically, looking at when we're shifting usability from minimal to viable, we'd want to just apply the same set of things one quarter forward. So if we're starting our jobs to be done research on usability testing in this quarter to wrap up by January, we would want to start it in January for performance testing to wrap up by April.
Okay.
So I think we can push that out. So we know that the UX care was positioned around the initial dates, but just looking at how much work is out there and the biggest opportunities for us, I've shifted those dates on you. And I think that your KR can change accordingly.
Okay. All right, that sounds good. So I will just make sure to start a discussion on it. Cool. Status update on this. So this is the usability job to be done research. I had started a discussion guide, and I also brought Will into this. Will is a researcher for CI/CD, and he just joined. So
Mhm.
probably not the top of his priorities right now. But what I did here is started a discussion guide, and I see that you added comments that I have not seen yet. So I'll have to go through. I figured we could use this though for capturing like what we want to get out of the interviews, and then questions. So the format, like questions that we want to ask. How do you feel about that?
Sounds good. Yeah. It looks like you used the template, but it looks a little bit different than the last version of the template I saw.
I used somewhat of the template, but I got rid of some of the sections here.
Okay.
So do you think I should bring them back?
No, it just looked different. I just wanted, I kind of wanted to make sure you weren't starting from scratch, because there is prior art here that you can use and steal from. Enough of it looked similar. That's what I had assumed. But
Yeah,
we can go forward with this. That's fine.
I used a template that was from a previous discussion guide, and then just got rid of the things that I didn't feel like
Yeah.
was
I think I
needed.
didn't get down to the jobs to be done questions, actually, but I think the biggest thing is I wouldn't use the terminology usability testing, because that's what we use as the name of the category. But like if you go out and you ask 20 developers, hey, tell me about your usability testing, they're going to say, what are you talking about? I think, based on my interactions with them. So I think that we just need to come up with different terminology around like acceptance testing, or validating that the feature works, or
Okay.
something like that. Or as we talk to designers, talk about, hey, you made changes to a design. How do you validate that those are actually happening as part of your work? And I
Okay,
think that
yeah.
will shed light on the job that they're trying to do, and how the feature set might help them get to the outcome they want to do that when they're doing that job.
Yeah, that sounds like a great idea. I definitely struggled. I was like, I know that this is not the right term, but how do I do this? Okay. So I'll take a stab at updating that.
Awesome. I'll keep an eye on it too, and help where I can. And if you want help, or if you just want to note shadow on the interviews, let me know, and I can try to hop into those depending on timing and stuff.
Okay. And regarding the participants for this,
Mhm.
we did mention that we could possibly hop on to internal GitLabbers and see how they approach like documentation, release posts, stuff like that.
Yep.
Do you think that would give us enough information around the jobs if we did internal reviews?
I think so, but we might want to check in with our friends in research and see what
Okay.
they think about it, or sanity check with Hayana about that. We could always use external. I was thinking more down the line when we say there's GitLab has widely adopted this feature, that those use cases could fit, where handbook changes, and especially in the process of doing the monthly release post, starting to utilize this functionality instead of going back and forth. It's like when Sid and Anoop and Scott do their review, they leave a bunch of comments in Slack, and then you have to go make sure that they all get done and the right people get pinged. And instead, if they're just leaving the comments directly in the review app, it
Yeah.
saves them going back and forth. And then you can tag somebody in each different comment in the thread of, hey, can you address this? Hey, can you address this? Hey, can you address this? And then they can go and make their changes in the MR.
Yeah, that's a great point.
I think that workflow could work. But we'll get closer to that down the line. For the jobs to be done though, check in with Hayana, and she would see what she thinks about internal versus external for the JDB, the jobs to be done discussions.
Okay.
As we could always do a recruitment. Caitlin can help us with that pretty quick.
Okay. All right. The other thing I had was so I got confused. I must say that when you had made that video about code testing and coverage, I thought that that meant we're switching to focus on that after usability testing.
Mhm.
But I think now that we've had this conversation, I had made a placeholder for performance testing, job to be done validation, and I had set it for 14.5. So I think based on our conversation about pushing that back based on the maturity date, I'll change this so that it correlates with that date now.
Yeah, I would just move that one back.
Okay.
Let's see. For code testing to move from viable to complete, I'll be doing just a quick review of the jobs to be done and figure out what is our next step. And then in the next quarter, we'll want to create a placeholder to do additional jobs to be done validation, because we need to validate jobs beyond the main job. So that will
Okay.
be research for us to work on in Q4. And during that quarter, on the build side of this is when the team will be working on project quality summary. So that
Okay.
as we look into Q1 of 2022, the team will be working on building out either the project test summary or working on Cocoa parsing, depending on what I find in this quarter. And then that's when we would, no, if we do the validation next quarter, then we would have no research items go in February through April of 22. And then May through July of 22, we would do a category maturity scorecard with external users on those additional jobs to be done.
Okay.
And if we score high enough there, then we will be able to move from viable to complete.
All right.
Does that all make sense? Does that track? Or did I explain that in a way that is not confusing?
Yeah, no, that made sense. I think I was confused because I wasn't sure if I had to do job to be done stuff for code testing and coverage
No,
as part of the UXKR, but
yeah, this is more, I'm gonna do, yeah, I wasn't even thinking in context of the UXKR when I was putting this together, so I wouldn't extrapolate out of anything from it to influence what you need to do in your KR in this quarter.
Okay.
I was just thinking about, hey, I need to look at the jobs to be done and start brainstorming what other jobs to be done does this category cover, so that we can do that validation next quarter.
Yes. All right, that makes sense.
Cool. Awesome.
The last thing I had was that there was a working group now for MR widgets. I forget what I linked here.
I saw that the MR to create the working group merged this morning.
Yes, and they have a handbook page now, which I'm going to get up here. Here it is. I'll post this link in our here. So I don't know if you got a chance to watch the recording of their meeting.
I watched last week's, yes.
Okay, yeah, that's what it was. Okay, so then you're up to date about that, but they did just create this handbook page, I think this morning. And it's like a summary of what's going on. And then down here, it gives who is the lead for everything.
Mm-hmm.
So hopefully, because they have gotten the working group solidified, I think things will start rolling now, is my hope.
Yeah, I thought, oh, there's Scott. Okay, cool. Awesome.
Yeah.
It looks like there's an associated KR. Yeah.
Right. And they do have the dates there, like target end date is the end of Q3. So that's also good.
In the discussion that I saw, though, it was more of a, there's not the intent that they will actually finish the work. That the working group will not do the work on these 10 widgets. And their intent is that they may not have everything delivered to us, so that we as the individual teams can finish the work either within this quarter, which is fine. I just want to make sure everyone is on the same page with that. That was my takeaway from that, watching that recording, was they're going to come up with a good framework so that we can continue to move forward with new widgets as they come up, or redesigned widgets as they need to happen, and not have these weird Frankenstein widgets that we ended up with today.
Yes, I took it as, yeah, they'll focus on the component that everyone can share. And then it doesn't mean that everybody, like our 7 widgets or however many we have, will be completed by the end of the quarter.
Same. Cool.
Okay. That was my last point. You want me to stop sharing?
If you want to.
Okay.
Let's see if I can find. I have like 100 tabs open now. All the tabs. My weekly priorities. I have a sales enablement webcast today, just talking through positioning of our categories, and it talks about the value prop, each of the categories, how it fits into the business drivers that the sales team is using, and then how you can take very common use cases like lots of people have a code coverage badge. Here's all the other features that you get if you are parsing for code coverage, as an example. So that's getting that content wrapped up and getting ready for that today was my top priority. The customer journey map research I've been working on moving forward. I need to put the issue link in here, but I have a research issue open for that. I need to start recruiting on that probably next week so that we can talk to some folks about it's the user path of I intend to run some tests as part of my GitLab pipelines, and then how do they get artifacts actually uploaded and review those tests? I want to understand where those friction points are. And then I was wrapping up direction updates for August, since it's a bit of a short week this week for me, since I'm out after I finish up the sales enablement webcast later today. So pretty short priority list for me. Again, short week this week, and going to be short week again next week too. So I'll probably get back to full-time work at some point in September. It looks like.
After the holidays, maybe.
After the holidays. School started now. We're getting back into our swing. Awesome. Anything else you want to talk through today? Anything else I can help with? How's onboarding going?
It's still going well. I think I'm finally getting in, like starting to get the hang of things. I'm still a little bit confused, but it's good. Getting into product issues has really helped me at least understand what I'm going to be working on. Yeah.
All right.
I don't think I need any help from anything else. I'll just take some of the action items that came out of this meeting.
Okay, awesome. Well, in that case, I will let you go. I'll get this uploaded to Unfiltered and share it in our Slack channel.
Sounds good.
All right.
All right.
See you on the team
See you
call.
at the group meeting. Yeah. Bye.